Canadian capital, where the area in and around the country's parliament remains on lockdown after a series of shootings in and around the parliament building. This is the first video from inside the Canadian Parliament building. A local journalist managed to capture the attack on video. Eyewitnesses say some 30 shots were fired inside. One shooter has been killed, but police are still searching for several other suspected attackers. Ottawa police have confirmed 2 separate shootings in the capital today, as well as the Parliament. The National War Memorial was attacked, where a guard was shot and wounded. He later died in the hospital. Police had initially said that there was a 3rd shooting at a shopping centre near the government building, but this information was later retracted. This comes hot on the heels of another attack on Monday in Quebec. Police shot dead a man who ran over 2 soldiers. The 25-year-old tried to escape but lost control of the vehicle and crashed into a ditch before he was shot by officers. Police say he called 911 and said he carried out the attack. According to authorities, the man became radicalized about a year ago after getting involved with extremist Muslims. Live now to Toronto, Canada, war correspondent Eric Margolis joining me live with some perspective on this. So do you think there's a reason behind the surge in violence, or is it a tragic coincidence in Canada?
I think it's more in line with a coincidence. The incident in Quebec 2 days ago looks like a person who was slightly or semi-deranged who ran over some soldiers. Today's events, we just don't know what they are yet. The situation is fluid, but the only linking factor is the fact that Canada has been getting more and more involved in the Middle East. And it has sent soldiers to fight in Iraq. It has dispatched yesterday 6 F-18 jet fighters. It's taken a much higher profile in the anti-ISIS coalition, and this may reverberate with domestic violence.
We've heard ISIS call on their faithful in the West to instigate attacks against their own institutions. Do you think that could be behind the confluence of these events?
Well, it's a possibility we cannot discount. And in fact, as far as the media is concerned and the government, the Conservative government of Canada, they are playing up the link to the Middle East as part of an effort to get Canada more involved in military affairs and events in the Middle East.
So geopolitically speaking, do you think there might be some fallout in the Canadian Parliament after this?
Well, there probably will be more support for Canadian military operations against ISIS, because people will blame ISIS for this, whether they were behind it or not. There's a growing anti-Muslim sentiment in Canada, and the government is reaping political dividends from this because voters always like governments to look tough and strong.
How would you gauge the law enforcement reaction in your experience to this so far?
Well, it's been more restrained than it would be in the U.S., where there would have been a lot more gunplay. Obviously, security in front of Parliament was not as tight as it should be. But, you know, Canada's not used to this kind of thing. Canada is a very peaceful, law-abiding country where jaywalking was probably the most dangerous offense, or hunting without a license. It's not used to this kind of violent spasms, nor to crazy people running around committing murders, except on rare occasions. And the effect of this is when you go kicking hornets' nests abroad, as in the Middle East, you were bound eventually to get stung.
Do you think this will have the country reassessing its security measures then?
Probably. There will be calls for tighter security. There's more government surveillance of the general public, eavesdropping, telephone intercepts, internet intercepts. All those parties in Canada on the right, we call them Canadian Republicans, who want to follow the lead of the Republican Party in the U.S., are going to use this as a way of tightening up on government controls, cutting down on individual liberties.
Finally, you are in Toronto, Canada's most populous city. How are the people there reacting to this, from what you've seen so far?
There's confusion because the press reports are so fragmentary, and there's a lack of understanding about what's caused this. And there's dismay because this is not Canadian behavior. As I said, this is a very peaceful, law-abiding country. People are just not ready for this kind of thing.
All right, war correspondent Eric Margolis, thanks for your time.